Chapter 1, To Trick the Devil. Your training course starts tomorrow, Ben, called his mum. Be at the Hilton Hotel in North Queensberry by 9 a.m. Ben had decided that studying at university was not for him and had signed up for a recruiting course over the summer for the Army cadets. He was a bright lad, but he could not see himself sitting in an office every day. Now 13, he had decided that he would explore the option of joining the Army. He was due to join the cadets at Glencoe after having signed up at one of their open days. Ben's Uncle Bill called, but no response. Ben's mind was mulling on thoughts of adventure. Tomorrow he would attempt the winter scramble over the mountain. His prize being the highest mountain of the old county of Argyll. Well, it was really a collection of mountains, ridges, crags and summits sat in the beautiful Glencoe area of Scotland. The summits were often called the Three Sisters, remembering the perceived Campbell deceit and the guardians of the treacherous glen. Ben looked on the view of the white sails of the Forth Road Bridge and its bow-like platform stretching forth, music playing in the background and the chime of diners' plates and glasses playing a melody of their own. The traffic scurrying like line of ants carrying their supplies back to the nest. Bill was an avid climber, was going to take him on an adventure of a lifetime tomorrow. Ben saw Bill talking to a man with ID and he seemed to be asking him to leave, but the man looked insistent. Ben directed him to sit whilst he made a phone call. Ben's mind was drawn to a memory that he did not know its source. It was of a man in a kilt speaking in a Gaelic tongue. Somehow the words came to his mind in English. Remember that to trick a devil, you must be like God. Do you remember your aunts Jenny who used to tell you about that wonderful place in the glen called the Hidden Valley? The story goes that the fairies used to pretend that they were an injured deer to get the people to choose freely to drink an elixir. Remember this, it may prove useful one day. Archie. Chapter 2, Still Together but Forever Alone. Ben turned to his tablet, he googled and found the tale of the Three Sisters. He read and pondered on the poem that he had found. Dark peaks framed in a moody veil gave birth to the morning. Dainty bonny feet sat in bubbles of the flowing burn. Forbidden names written on the curtains of their hearts. Spring had not yet started. Snow still peaking these majestic peaks. Cattle watch was a daily chore. But the king's men, they came at night. And they shown Highland hospitality. Drinking, eating, and sleeping. In the black houses of the glen. These houses soon became darker still. For in the morn, they were stained by the blood of men. And daughters sweet. Waiting for their love to meet. Steps through the snow. Trying to escape. This meaningless power struggle. Enthroned in the glen. On each peak. Waiting for justice. For blood to cry from the ground. Waiting to be found. But frozen in the landscape. More beautiful than Dunedin. Or the green hollow. Waiting for the gods of Scotland's past. To deliver them. Ben loved this writing as it reflected his own feelings on betrayal and injustice. Although there were many versions of the tale, and the extent to which the Campbells actually played was a matter for debate, yet their name was still written in history and language and attached to betrayal. He had decided to go and meet these ancient sentinels embodied in stone, but for now his attention was turned to a mysterious figure who was seated at the other side of the restaurant. The man had lowered his head yet kept up his gaze. On seeing this, the suited man with crisp lines walked straight towards Ben and placed a large white envelope on the table with the words, "My apologies, my name is Tom Fletcher. You are Ben McDowell, real name Archie MacDonald?" Chapter 3, Archie. What do you mean real name? Ben replied. This is a letter stating your real name and a copy of your paternal family tree. It outlines your lineage from Alistair Rood Mackley MacDonald, the clan leader who was slain by the Campbells. Ben now Archie felt uncomfortable. Had he been watching him? This is too weird, he said. I was just reading about that. My father is Justin McDowell. My mother is Janet Martin. I'm sorry to tell you this, look at the papers, but you were adopted, and the details were not disclosed to you. There was a need for you to be kept safe and for no one to know, so your father had done so. I realize that this is a bit of a shock. Please read the letter, my contact details are on the card. I must go, I'm sorry. Wait, Ben stammered, I don't understand. The man gave his apologies again and left in a hurry without further explanation. Ben, now Archie, had no time to lose. His trip tomorrow was ill-prepared for and a treacherous one. But he couldn't stop looking at the letter and the note. He kept searching for the meaning and context of this event. Chapter 3, Archie. What do you mean real name? Ben replied. This is a letter stating your real name and a copy of your paternal family tree. It outlines your lineage from Alistair Rood Mackley MacDonald, the clan leader who was slain by the Campbells. Ben, now Archie, felt uncomfortable. Had he been watching him? This is too weird, he said. I was just reading about that. My father is Justin McDowell. My mother is Janet Martin. I'm sorry to tell you this, look at the papers, but you were adopted, and the details were not disclosed to you. There was a need for you to be kept safe and for no one to know, so your father had done so. I realize that this is a bit of a shock. Please read the letter, my contact details are on the card. I must go, I'm sorry. Wait, Ben stammered, I don't understand. The man gave his apologies again and left in a hurry without further explanation. Ben, now Archie, had no time to lose. His trip tomorrow was ill-prepared for and a treacherous one. But he couldn't stop looking at the letter and the note. He kept searching for the meaning and context of this event. Bill explained his failed attempt at the Three Sisters and his need for the right equipment. He did not fancy spending £300 on boots and crampons, so he went for an all-fitting ice version and a standard-size ice axe and a small map of Glencoe. The assistant gave a little concerned reply with his voice saying, "When are you doing that? Are you sure the conditions are right?" "I think the gods would be cruel to take another MacDonald," I replied, but then thought. He replied, "Is that not what they are famous for?" Bill loved the shop, he wanted to buy everything, but his recent divorce had put a drain on his finances. So, he resisted the urge. Archie thought, my uncle's ex-wife will not be happy to learn she missed being related to a laird. So close to that Swedish furniture store, Ben, now Archie, couldn't resist a stop for some meatballs and jam, something he had become accustomed to and something he enjoyed with his uncle, well, who he thought was his uncle, when he lived near there as a young lad. So equipped and overflowing with the bounties of his favorite store, Archie headed to Perth to rest for the journey tomorrow. Chapter 5, Mirror on the Wall. Tomorrow did not go as planned. Bill's ex-wife Nevaeh had not been honest and had sent the boys to the house last week with a sickness bug. Archie decided to play it safe and not to try the ridges. He was also mindful of the high winds and did not want to be compared to a kite on the top of Glencoe. They had decided to stay at Perth. He picked up his spirits, and as he walked along the River Tay, the sun was baking down, and the air was crisp with the cold. The Tay reminded him of the rapidly unfolding deep mystery that was before him, and the willow on the other side of the river in front of a historic Perth dwelling reminded him of the sorrows of the girl's tale. Such lovely homes and gardens warmed his heart. Through the natural scenes he saw, which he now knew were in his blood. Filled with the spirit of magic of the glen, what would the day bring? He thought, who would he meet? And would he find more to his tale? After eating a meal with his uncle, which he enjoyed but could not seem to share his tale, he viewed a grey heron along the banks of the river. Interested in nature, Archie took the turn and went over the river on a stone bridge, with massive boulders in the middle which led the way. He turned to the right towards Lunkerty, and he turned his attention back to the river and returned back to the city of Perth. After his walk, Archie's feet throbbed from the wearing on his heel. In pain from the long walk, his uncle Bill offered him some painkillers. Bill and Archie headed back to the hotel room. Bill looked into the black ebony-framed mirror. Its line caressing the ridges, its flowing tides moving towards the shimmering reflection of his worn countenance. Then he retired to his separate room. 5 years ago, Bill's wife Nevaeh had declared that they were no longer in love. Bill was tired of the situation, but his mum and dad had always taught him to uphold marriage, so he clung on to a burning rope until his hands were so scorched that he could not hold on to another rope or barely look on it again. Being near her brought out the worst of feelings that Bill could not get rid of. Today Archie lay in his bed and as if in a fugue. He drifted out of consciousness and back in again. He looked at the mirror and it was a surreal experience. It was as if the mirror spoke to him and reality dawned for a minute. Perhaps there was something he had to learn, but in that brief moment he aligned himself with God or whoever was in charge right now. It fueled his wanderlust, But tonight in the quiet room he thought of his real father, mother, and kin, and the mirror spoke to him again, rippling and in a broad Scots dialect. It is a relic you seek. A relic? What was this? Tomb Raider? Archie was unsure if he had taken too many painkillers or if he was communing with the gods of Scotland's past. Chapter 6. Waiting for the Troll. What relic could lie and survive in such a remote and unforgiving location? Tomorrow came and Archie rolled out of bed. He jumbled his supplies into his rucksack, dropped off his key with Bill and walked down the old steps leading to Bill's car. He loaded his bag into Bertha, Bill's trusty steed, ready for the 2.5-hour drive. He did not invite anyone else. He feared the events that would unfold, but also what someone might think if he told them the story of the last couple of days. Bill, tell me about my younger childhood. I do not remember it very well. What was I like? Where did I live and what were my parents like when they were younger? That is some exceptionally good questions. I think they might be answered on this trip. I have a funny feeling about that. You were always interested in adventure, trying to figure out how things worked, and I remember a time that you sat on a bridge for an entire day so that you could confront the troll you were convinced lived underneath. You always seemed to be in a world of your own. Do you remember the time that you fell from the rock climb and somehow the rope wrapped around your leg and protected you from an awful injury? It looked like the rope had a mind of its own. You have always been looked over and had your fair share of challenges. Your parents were kind and loving. Justin and Janet always served so well. You could not have asked for better carers. Bill said. Carers? Said Archie. I just mean they looked after you well, Bill quickly corrected. The drive was long but filled with beautiful sights. Glencoe, just northwest of the Trossachs region and just south of the town Fort William, was arrived at via the A85 and the A82, passing Loch Tulla and Loch Eneachaclays, a ghostly but beautiful freshwater loch on Ranch Moor which becomes frozen solid during winter's cruel grasp. Funnily, the name meaning small loch at the armpit does not really capture its beauty. The drive then enters the glen which was bounded by the Great Shepherd, the Bushai Etive Moor, often shown on picture postcards, and the Little Shepherd, opposing Stob McMarchuin, with other mountains all around. Eventually the valley leads to the Three Sisters, where Archie found a parking spot, having left early. He felt inspired by the mountains in this area, but the valley was no longer bleak as development had entered the valley in a form of a hotel. He stepped out of the car, breathed in the mountain air, and began the walk along the path that led to the mountain. There were few tourists today for some reason. The weather forecast had been a little risky for some but had changed just in time for Archie to brave the climb. He thought of his mother and of his friends, how they would have loved this sight and the view from Bidian Nam Bien, the highest peak. He felt a rush of energy as he viewed the peaks, as though the valley was magical, as though the gods sat on the mountains as armchairs and viewed the surrounding peaks. 3 volcanic peaks faced the road, forming 2 valleys between the tops, the one on the left being called the Hidden Valley and the one on the right being a much steeper climb. The peak Bidian Nam Bien, meaning Peak of the Mountains, was the target for Archie and lay behind and perpendicular to the front 3 peaks, Gir Anonach, Anonach Dub and Stobquar Nan Locan. Bill commenced up the valley to the right, avoiding the Hidden Valley where Clan MacDonald had hidden their theft and livestock, and he started to climb substantially. He heard the cry of a bird of prey he recognized from a nature program as being a golden eagle native to these parts. Shouldn't we take the Hidden Valley? Archie said. No, it's best to take the right path for now, said Bill. We can take the other path back down. Archie and Bill passed some slower tourists. One of them looked at them both with a suspicious eye. This confused Archie, but he put it down to a difficult day. The other smiled and stopped to chat with Bill for a moment. Her name was Susan, and she was here with her boyfriend. She described the climb as epic and asked Bill to join them on the walk up. He followed them for a while and then gave his excuses, desperate to climb the several smaller peaks to get to the top. Chapter 7. The Gods of the Old Land. Archie said, Bill, I am going to take some pictures and speak with these 2. I will be back in an hour or so and we will descend together, have some supper and here wrap up in this. Okay, Archie said, I need a rest anyway. Archie reached into his pocket to get some snacks and felt the letter and envelope in his pocket. He suddenly realized that there was a small metal carved plate inside. He studied it, and the engravings, ornate and Celtic in origin, revealed a dragon and 3 girls, and ornate arrows pointed to 4 holes. Yet another puzzle, Archie thought again, flipping it like a coin. What am I supposed to do with that? As he tossed it, the light shone through the holes, and it gave him an idea. After a long and arduous climb, Archie reached the rocky cairn, and after surveying the valleys, lochs, and the sea, he surveyed the beauty from the peak of the mountain. The climb had been a technically tricky one, but now on the peak, he had sat down and eaten a cereal bar he had brought and had a drink of water. He started to rest as he did, so the sun beat down and he fell into a slow trance-like sleep. Archie, 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 he hears the voice call. You made it. You made it, son. The medallion's the key. Look upon your realm and see the location of the hidden treasure, but first you must ask the gods for permission to take it. How do I do that? Archie replied. Call on Bera, the Queen of Winter, the Hag, and the Kelpies, Seanade, likes ale, and the fairies and the Real Arthur, King of Camelon, and recite the word before the Kelpies' word on the pendant. The memories should come back in this place. Remember. Remember. Archie's daze removed itself. He stood up, recited the names, before he forgot them, and somehow read the words written on the medallion. First is the word, then the action, then the fight, then the gift. After you see it, you serve, after you serve, you lift. See for the beauty and serve the good. Call on the gods above for the final test. But remember, you try the gods, so you must be at your best. If you do not, it may be your final rest. Archie suddenly felt great regret at the words. Could he play Auntie Jenny's game? Suddenly there was a sound as the banging of a great drum, and the dark clouds scrolled shut. There was a great shower filling a divot on the mountain's peak with water. Then a flurry of snow, a table and 4 great chairs and a round table appeared next, the chair more like an ancient stone throne. A tree sprouted from the ground and a flurry of tiny flying creatures appeared. Who are you? How dare you disturb the rulers of the ancient kingdom? Speak your name or be destroyed. Archie was about to say Ben McDowell, but then he stopped himself and began saying, I am Archie MacDonald. I am a wounded soul who has just found out that I am the son of Alex MacDonald, the current clan chief and rightful ruler of this land. He has told me that I have a score to settle with you. I am a fair and just man, but my clan's blood you took and a debt you now owe. Pay me the price. I know that the gods are just and fair. Give me what my father looks for, and we can leave each other then in peace. Arch Chapter 8. Let not earth cover their blood. Who are you to tell me what to do? Said Bera. I am as old as the earth itself. Bera, have you forgotten the ancient law? Said Arthur. Remember Job. Let not earth cover my blood. This was based on the magic that created us, Bera. Let not your words condemn us all, for the girls were not buried, they were taken away unjustly. Seanade put his hand on his brow and said, Bring me my ale, I have a decision to make. The Kelpies and the fairies shuddered in fear that they had torn the fabric that had created them and began to chatter in the other ears, persuading them to agree to pay the debt, but the hag stood up and called with the great cry, Targ Anuas. The heavens opened and the 3 sisters descended from above. The hag told poor Archie that she had taken them out of love. They had lost their family and seen such terrors that the mother of creation had seen a need. She had noticed them lonely and with none to feed their soul and none to make them whole. The clever hag had thought that she was a victor, and then Archie pulled out the medallion. The Kelpies screeched in regret, for they recognized the trinket as a past debt. Archie held it up and the sun shone, though, a spot touching each of the Kelpies in turn, searing their heart until they cried, We will pay the debt, we will give the clan MacDonald what they have lost, the children and the relic that you seek. Look to the north and it will tell you where to go. Chapter 9. Like a snake, but deeper than the mountains. The fairies, who were dressed in bright shining armor, both male and female, whispered in each other's ears, and 4 flew over to the medal, turning it 90 degrees and glowing like a star, projecting a bright beam through the 4 holes. 3 fell on the summits of the mountainous projections to the north, and the other fell near a waterfall in the hidden valley where the MacDonalds had hidden many a hairy beast from their enemies. Seanade rose up and declared, Clan Lord, you have forgotten the courtesy given me on the Isles of the Sea. Give unto me that which is mine, or I shall bring the storms to bring you back to the ground with humility in your stride. Archie shuddered at the trembling air, a thunder, then he recalled the Story of the Isles, and said, Seanade, I give thee this cup of ale, hoping that thou wilt be so good as to fertilize my works and enrich the ground as I work. He reached into his rucksack left with Bill's secret stash, where he had a small flask, and threw it over his shoulder to the driven wind. Seanade raised his hand and sucked the poisoned vapors into his breast and cried with a chuckle, I have been duly paid, go thy way. Wait, said Bearer, if you answer a riddle I will return the girls again to mortality, but if you fail, I will inflict a penalty. A riddle, said Archie. What is like a snake, but deeper than the mountains and older than the hills, it's solitary and green and barely seen, drinks from the black waters, but if you miss the answer to it might be ready to eat you. Archie thought for a moment, expecting something related to the hills. He thought of the adder, but the black waters and eating me. There is only one thing in Scotland that lives in the black waters and large enough to eat me, if you believe the tourist signs. Nessie, he thought, but I am too far from Loch Ness to be eaten. But it was worth a try. Loch Ness's spirit, he said, Nessie herself. Indeed, a roar declared a slithering shape broke the ridge and stood before him. Chapter 10, Who will oppose? You have answered correct. I am hungry today, Bearer, what have you brought me? 3 children or a prince with a desire for vengeance? Bearer said. The children you have promised to the prince, and the prince you have promised deliverance, Bearer. Depart from me, Bearer, before I eat you. The Kelpies have promised the prince deliverance, and Arthur desires to appease. Shall I eat or shall I please? Archie pulled a fish. Bill had a hankering for fishing and took any opportunity to cook one in the wild, from his rucksack, and threw it to Nessie, who gladly ate. I guess that I will indeed be late for my sleep as I go hunting in the loch. Archie, this is why the tourists do not see me too oft. As I sleep in over the hill in a loch near a distant croft, where the witch watches over me. Tell no one or you will be my next dinner, for I can travel land and sea, loch and mountain top. I rule over the water, and I sit in council with the other gods. Follow the fairies to the pools on the top of the mountain to claim the Stone of Hope. This will help you to fix the problems you have faced and to provide for the girls, who deserve a loving home. Do you think that hope can fill your life? Do you believe? Go to the waterfall and thrust in your hand and bring it out. The relic containing the stone of great power. This we give you. Scotland needs a leader, it needs hope. Will you be that man? Wait, Archie, Arthur said. Take this. He reached out and pulled out a quill, golden and magical in appearance. It shone like the sun at noonday. He placed it in a box and passed it to Arthur. For you, Archie, for your story of hope. Touch their hearts and it will be all you need to do. For the Scots are a bold nation with no fear of speaking their mind, explorers of the heart and ready to follow once freed from the ale. No offense, Seanade. None taken. Smiled Seanade. Bearer, you have care for the girls this long. Can you watch them one more day and I will return them to their blood? Pleaded Archie. I will, Nessie has spoken, who will oppose? Replied Bearer. Archie gripped the handle and the word glowed. He felt a rush of energy touch every cell of his body. He lowered the sword and touched the great stone. A great light filled his vision and transported him to a new place he had never been. A waterfall deeper in the mountains, magical and as beautiful as any he had seen. Then the vision ended. He felt joy and hope. He placed the other stones in his backpack and moved towards the entrance of the cave. Just then 2 figures appeared in the background. Archie said the man he recognized from the journey up the mountains said, "We will take that," as he raised his hand with a Heckler & Koch VP9 handgun to the square. The other figure, the woman companion, looked uneasy and then raised her gun also. Just then a dark figure appeared behind them. Eyes glowing red. The man didn't understand the change in Archie's body language. He said, "Don't move and throw me the sword." Archie looked at the dark spirit who was waiting for some sort of a cue from Archie. Archie lowered the sword and put up his thumb, so as to say yes, okay. At which point the dark spirit smiled a wicked smile and entered the man, writhing him in convulsions and making him drop the gun. The woman dropped the gun also at this point, having only noticed the spirit at the point of attack as he had come from behind them both. She screamed and ran towards the door. The man fell dead, or paralyzed, his eyes wide open. At that moment, Bill advanced into the cave, Archie signaled no to the spirit, and he retreated with a disappointed look. Archie rushed towards Bill, his fingers touching the stone again. He made his way out of the cavern. He raised his voice and said, "I'm ready for the girls' beera." "What do you mean, Archie?" Bill queried. Chapter 12, Hope Opens Doors. Now free to explore the cave further, Archie took Bill to the side of the cavern where another door appeared. He inserted the sword into the slot in the door, and it opened to a wide cavern with a pool full of fairies playing, dancing, and splashing in the water, busy making items and singing a joyful song. The beautiful scene, complete with majestic falls, beaconed to them to step across the stones to the waterfall. As he touched it, he did not feel wet, it was as if his fingers tingled. "Forward or back?" the one little plump fairy asked. "Back," he said. "Wish it and it will be so." He stepped through only to see the same chamber ornately laden with timber carvings and fairies who seemed surprised at his arrival. "State your names," the leader said. "Archie of the clan MacDonald and Bill," he said. He looked up and he saw his father holding the girls tightly, Bera smiling and the Kelpies and Nessie dancing in the pool. Alexander greeted his son for the first time since he was born, hugged him so hard that Archie could barely breathe and told him of his lineage and his family. The girls smiled and hugged him too. He met other older members of his family and the leaders in times past. Archie directed the girls to Bill. "Bill, you always wanted daughters, right? You must go now, you have new family to care for, take them, and the girls know who that lady is." "Bill." "Must I go?" Archie said. "Yes, but when you are ready, and I love you, you can always return. Just remember the doorway opens both ways for the living and the magical." Chapter 13, Through the Waterfall. Archie, after his visit, smiled at his kin, then held each girl's hands and detailed the kindness of Bill and their task to help him, exited the doorway, withdrew the sword, and sealed the chest. Bill led the girls through the water and back into the hidden valley, down the steep path and defended by torchlight down the valley and steep stones path, reaching his car, and they kept Bill company whilst driving home. The girls smiled and hugged him in the morning, walked towards the car chatting with Archie and Bill the whole way. "We know who the girl is you are searching for, Archie, too. We will help you with that." The sword, the stone, the angels and the gods of Scotland looked upon the scenes with nothing but delight in their hearts, but the dark spirit glared, talked to another and looked on the scene with disgust, but that is a different story altogether. Archie excitedly knew that he would no doubt need to visit the waterfall again. The end.